Guys, today I'm going to talk about two-channel planes, and I have six of them, and I kind of rated them from number six up to number one for my favorite planes. Now, I have two boys over here in the Philippines, and we fly these almost every morning and every night because it's not much wind. During the rest of the day, it's too hot and it's pretty breezy with the wind coming off the ocean. So my least favorite plane, and the boys don't even like it, is this Diamond, and basically it's officially a GD006. So that's this one. Now, the good things, it was fun to put together. You have to glue on the tail, and you glue on the horizontal stabilizer, and you mount the motors, and they got nice plastic covers. They actually have working vents, and the chrome little spinners, and it's a scale of the Diamond DA62. So its good points is it has a nice big wingspan, 500 and some millimeter, and it's great looking, two-tone silver and blue. It's got this remote. It does have a high rate and a low rate, but even in high rate, this is the worst turning of six planes. It takes forever to turn it. You can like turn left is really hard. You have to, I click on the trim button to get it to turn left pretty good, and then it doesn't really want to turn right. I think one motor's a little bit weak, and I saw on YouTube another guy had the same thing. One motor's a little weak, and by the time you trim it, two motors are weak, and it doesn't climb very high or at a fast rate. It flies okay. It won't just crash all the time, but you have to have a large area to turn because it just takes its time. And the gyros are overactive. Like sometimes when I've flown it close to me and there's a little bit of breeze, anytime it just wiggles a little bit, you hear the motors, it's overcorrecting. It does not want to bank to turn. It doesn't want its nose up too high. It doesn't want its nose down too low. It's like over controlled with the gyros. It's not much fun to fly. So this is my least favorite plane. But if you like it, you can buy it. It will fly. It won't, it won't just crash all the time. But that's my least favorite. Now, basically on my list, for number 5, which I had high hopes for this. This is beautiful. This is the Flybear, the FX series, number 820. And I picked a beautiful yellow. It's the SU35. But you get a nice big remote, but there's no high rate and there's no low rate. There's no trim on the remote. The manual says bend the stabilizers. This one I had to do. It was always turning, let's see, which way was it going? Yeah, it was always turning left, so I had to bend both of these a little bit to the right to get that evened out. Yeah, and so then that's okay. Once it's flying straight, it pretty much stays flying straight. But this one, it climbs okay. It doesn't turn real sharp, but it turns twice as good as this Diamond. But when the boys fly it, they get bored with it. It doesn't do much. You can't really make much happen. It doesn't turn sharp enough to bank it good. When you let off of the throttle, it'll just kind of glide. You can't do any spirals or corkscrews. It's kind of boring, but it's beautiful. But it flies stable. I mean, if you're a beginner, it's an incredible looking plane, and it flies stable. It does fly good, but it's just kind of a slow plane for maneuvers. But if there's a breeze, it cuts right through the breeze really good. Where like the light Cessna, the Z50, that'll always ride up on the breeze. This will cut through it. And this is pretty fast when the boys and I are flying and they have the Z50 Cessnas. I'll pass them right up. So it's fun that way. It's a little faster and it's great looking, but it might get a little boring after a while. So then basically on number 4, this one is the Flybear FX823 and F16. And this flies a little more fun than the yellow one. It, I think, has a little less wingspan, and it's a little more maneuverable. It'll let you bank it a little bit more. It'll turn a little tighter. When you let off the throttle and then crank left or right, it'll actually do a little bit of a dive, and it will actually maneuver a little better. So I rated it a little bit higher. Same thing though, it's the same kind of controller. There's no high rate, there's no low rate, there's no trim adjustments. So for being a brand name Flybear, the transmitters are a little bit of a letdown, but yeah, it's good for a beginner. It does fly stable. It's got a little bit of a rubbery nose on the front, and it's okay that way. So I just rated it a little better than the yellow one. So then the third one is this guy, the C17, and that's officially a GD005, and it's got a nice little controller, and it's got high rate and low rate, and it does have adjustable trim. And you got to assemble it, and I put it together with a hot melt glue gun, and I probably put more glue than I should have on these motors and on the wing. I wanted to make sure it doesn't come apart if it crashes, so I probably over glued it, which makes it a little bit heavy, and then it didn't climb real good, so I just put in 2 little sheet metal screws in the back just to give it a little more weight in the back. And now it climbs good, and it turns amazingly fast. As soon as you crank it, it leans, it banks, it turns. You can, for being a C17, you can really maneuver it. So I rated it higher because it's more fun. As far as a beginner's one, maybe the jets are a little more stable. This one, if you're flying it close to the ground and you turn, it kind of dives and you might put it into the ground a little bit. But just fly it higher and do all your crazy stuff. Let off the throttle, crank on, your direction, go wide open, crank on it, and you'll actually get it to dance around in the sky. So that's why I rated it a little bit higher. And it's actually fast too. It keeps right up with these other 2 jets. It's pretty fast. So that's why I gave it a little bit higher rating. So that one's a lot of fun. And then we get up to number 2, the Z51 Predator. Now, this one was kind of a love-hate relationship for a while. I got it because it's a nice big wingspan, 660 millimeters. It's the biggest of the 2 channels. I ordered a special one with the LED light strips underneath, nice bright green, and when I fly it in the evening, people stop on the road and watch, because here in the Philippines, most people, they just have a kite made out of a plastic bag and a couple little twigs. They don't have RC planes, and something like this with all lit up under the wings, it's amazing. But basically, when I first got it, I did a video on it. This one didn't fly out of the box. It had the factory, like the turret underneath was its weight. And as soon as I would let it go, it would do all that up and down and stalling and crashing. And it crashed so many times, all the local boys were running out in the rice field to go get it for me. Well, one time it came back and that turret was missing, and I knew I'm not going to find that out in a rice field with a bunch of grass and all that stuff out there. So I just guessed, and I put a bolt and I put a nut in there, and then I glued on another light. It's in my video. Well, then it flew nice and stable, but it was a little nose heavy, so it didn't climb real good. So I took the light off. Well, then it was back to up and down, very unstable. The gyros were over-correcting, it's half-stalling. So then I just put one more little sheet metal screw in the bottom. You can see it's all worn white here from all the times it's crashed. And now it's just right. So now I love it. I got it up at number 2 because the fun factor is good. Everybody loves seeing it fly with the LED lights. I like the big wingspan. It looks really nice with the V-tail. Now it climbs pretty good and it turns very good too. It's got also a remote with the high rate and the low rate. And so I rated it at number 2. And I don't know how much weight I had to add because that other part was missing. And I watched on YouTube and I didn't see other people have a problem with this one, but mine, it just didn't fly. All these other ones flew out of the box and this one crashed out of the box every single time. But now, once you get the center of gravity dialed in and figure out its little flaws, I guess, fly it a little higher, because the same thing when you turn, it kind of comes down a little bit, or apply more throttle. If you're flying low and you're turning, apply throttle to kind of keep it level. But once you get that figured out, yeah, it's a great plane, and a beginner can learn on it, or someone else that's, you know, flown a few times, they'll still enjoy it. So that's that. Now, number 1, believe it or not, is the little Z50 Cessna. And the boys like this one so much, they don't want to fly the other ones. They're bored with the other ones because they don't maneuver so good. This one has the nice little remote, and it's got high rate and low rate, and it has trim on it, but don't really need it. It always flies good. Right out of the box, no problem. And what's amazing with this one, it's actually proportional steering. These other ones, when you bump the stick, all of a sudden it turns a big octagon circles, but this one you can feather the stick and it'll proportionally speed up one motor or slow down the other. Real gentle turns. Amazing because it's the cheapest one, and the high rate is great. It will do loops. The one boy showed me, he practiced up with it, so you just do throttle management while it's flying. He goes wide open, lets off, so then it dives. Wide open, lets off, and then it dives. Well, then he can, with the momentum, he cranks it and it overrides the gyros and it will do a loop. And then once he has it doing a loop, he can keep going and do loops. And when I fly it, I do corkscrews with it. I'll like let off the throttle so it's starting to dive, and then I just crank it one way and another and one way and another, and pretty soon it's doing wing overs, corkscrews, spirals, whatever you want to call it. So it's actually an acrobatic plane in the second rate, and it's so good we bought one more. We bought the red one, so each boy can fly a Z50 and they can be happy because they just love flying close to the ground, and it's very controllable. It doesn't like do big dives when you turn close to the ground, so you can keep it just skimming above the grass. You can go sky high, you can do your acrobatics with it. It's the longest flying of all these. Even though the battery is small, it's got to be like 15 minutes. All my jets are done in half the time. 7-8 minutes, they're coming in for a landing. So I just wanted to share with you guys, just so you can make your own choice on what ones you get. You can collect them like we do. But I guess one to not overlook is the little Z50, because everybody loves it. It's just so much fun, and you don't get bored with it. Some of these other ones, it's a little boring, just going round in circles and round in circles, because they don't really do much. This little thing, he's waving his wings all over the place. You can do your loops, anything you want to do. It takes off from the road really easy. It just goes like 3 feet and it's up in the air, and it climbs like crazy. It's just the most amazing one. So that's the 2-channel overview. I have 2 3-channel planes I'll review another time probably. I have one 4-channel glider, the AK A800, but those are all different category. These are great little easy to take with you planes, fun, affordable, and gyros to help you out. So that's just my overview. So maybe you guys can subscribe. We'll keep checking stuff out, rate stuff, and show some fun stuff it can do. If you want to see these fly, they're all in my videos. Like I do the unboxing and then I'll do the video part, so you can watch them actually fly then. Today I just wanted to kind of break it down into a countdown up to number 1 basically, and tell you the good and bad on everything. So thanks a lot. Bye.